Hi everyone, it's Jana Eubank with the Cricut blog. Welcome to the launch of the Cricut Expression 2 machine, or the E2 machine as we like to call it for short. To celebrate, I wanted to bring you on into my scrapbook room today and create a couple of projects using the two great cartridges included on this machine. We have Cricut American Alphabet and Cricut Essentials. We'll be putting together a quilt-inspired layout and a card using the great shapes included on these two cartridges. So let's get started. Today for our project, I thought we'd create a fall layout with a quilt-inspired background. We're going to begin with a craft background that has been spritzed with walnut ink, and then it has been matted on dark brown cardstock. As just an extra touch, I've used my sewing machine to zigzag around the edges with some red thread. I opened up my Cricut Essentials cartridge booklet and I found this fantastic layered diamond circle image on page 31. And you've got this background image and then this top image that layer together to create this little piece. I thought this would be fantastic to cut out multiples of and create a quilt-like background behind our photo on our page. So what I've done is I've picked out some 6x6 papers that are actually double-sided. And the great thing about this is because we're cutting a symmetrical design, I can, where'd it go? Because I'm cutting this symmetrical design, I can flip-flop it over and use both sides of the papers as I layer them onto my page to create my quilt. So I've preloaded this mat with 4 designs, and it will actually end up being 8 designs because they're double-sided, and we're going to just autofill our image onto the mat and cut out these circles. So let's do that first. Alright, let's load our image onto our mat and for the autofill feature. We'll go into the image editor button and we'll find the image that we would like to use. We're going to select it right here. Next, to adjust the size or to make sure it's on the right size, we'll click on the image and it will pull up this menu. We'll click on the pencil, which is the editing tool, and it will take us into the features that we can edit. I'm going to click on the size and make sure that it's set where I want it to be. Then I'll press save. Now I can press save again, and I'm ready to go to the mat and see what it looks like. So right now I have one image on the mat and I would like to autofill that. I can click on the toolbar and just simply hit this 4th button, which is the autofill feature. And we'll put that image on the mat as many times as it will fit. Our images are loaded on our screen and we're ready to load our mat. Simply slide our mat underneath the guides and then press this button to load the mat. Now that we're ready to cut, we just simply select the blade. Make sure our paper and everything is set how we would like it. Press the blade again. It'll take a minute to load the images once more, and then we can select the blade to cut. After I got all my circles cut out, I layered them together onto the brown cardstock, and then I just arranged them on the page in a way that I thought was pleasing to the eye, and then I can start building my page on top of that. So next we'll add our photo, and then the next thing I wanted to do on my layout is to add a title and a place to do some journaling. So I actually cut out a couple more images from the Cricut Essentials cartridge. I cut out this image here to be the base shape to hold my title, and I just stitched around the inside of that shape to just add some detail and to tie it in with the stitching that I did here. So I'm just gonna tuck that underneath like that, and I'm gonna put my title on top. And then next, I wanted a place for journaling. So I cut this scalloped label shape right here using the same graph paper and the brown cardstock, and then I zigzag stitched around this label shape. So that is going to go right here. But I decided that I want to add a little bit more detail to that before I glue it down. I'm going to add some eyelets to each of these scallops, and then I'm going to adhere it to my page. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our 2 journaling blocks, one for our title and one for our journaling, and I've added the hole punches and the eyelets into the scallops right here, and I've also added stitching around here, zigzag stitching, and then straight stitching around this one. And I'm ready to add my title to this block here. I decided to cut a phrase from the Cricut American Alphabet cartridge included on the E2 machine, and I chose to use this phrase right here that says "Happy Day." Now this is a great little phrase because it comes with a shadow, but I actually opted not to use the shadow on this particular layout, and I'll show you what I did instead. I decided to cut this image out 3 times with 3 different papers. First, I cut a dark brown image as my base, and then I cut the exact same shape in a red, and I'm just going to offset that a little bit to give the image, to give the illusion of a shadow but not a real heavy shadow. So I did that. I still wanted a little more depth to my title, a little more variety, so I chose to cut that same image out again on a light red tone-on-tone pattern paper. And what I'm going to do is just snip out every other letter with my scissors and glue that right on top of the letters. So that gives me an illusion of another layer and more depth to that title, and just makes it that much more fun. So I'm going to glue those all together and we'll keep going from there. Now that we have the majority of our page put together, I felt like this side of the photo needed a little bit more detail just to kind of balance out the weight that's happening on over here. So I pulled out the Cricut Essentials cartridge again, and I decided to cut a couple of these swirls out of the brown cardstock. So we have those there. Next I cut out one of these berry branches, and I did a brown stem, and then I did the red berries. And we're going to use that. And then finally, we're going to build a couple of autumn flowers. And I decided to use this image right here. I cut it in a couple of sizes. And then I'm going to use this image right here as the flower center. So what we're going to do is place these images that we've cut out onto this soft foam mat. And just use the back end of a tool. This right here is one of the tools from the Cricut toolkit. And we're just going to kind of burnish it and kind of curl the edges of those flowers up. And that just gives it a little more dimension. We're going to do the same thing with the flower centers, but this time we're just going to push down in the center of the flower like that. After we've done that, we're going to poke a hole in the middle of each piece with a paper piercer and just layer those together and secure them with a brad. And we'll have a really pretty autumn flower. Now that we have our flowers built and our accent pieces cut out and assembled, we're ready to add them to the right side of our page and just finish it off. So what I've done is I've just attached these swirls to the back of the flowers, and we're going to add the berry branch to the right side of the page here. We're going to add one of our autumn flowers right underneath that, and we'll add the other one right here on the diagonal, just kind of connecting it to this journaling spot and adding a bit of color and design to the bottom of the right side of the page. I hope you have a happy fall, and I hope you've enjoyed putting this scrapbook page together and taking this little tour of the E2 machine and the cartridges that it includes. And we hope we'll see you again soon here on the Cricut blog. This is Jana Eubank. We'll see you next time.